You're listening to Make It Possible Ukraine Volunteer Heroes Stories, the podcast about volunteers who have made a difference in Ukraine. Together, we can make it possible for people in Ukraine. Hello everyone! So this episode is about cultural differences with Ukraine. So I'll start the episode with reading a list of do's and don'ts in Ukrainian social culture with my comments, and followed by opinion on cultural difference from 5 volunteers. Joe from New York, Ben from Australia, Ryan from UK, Sean from Michigan, and Dennis from Netherlands. Let's start. So the list is more about aspects of social culture of Ukraine, so it enables you to enjoy the friendship you make and avoid awkward moments. Do's and don'ts for good manners in Ukraine. So I'll start with do's. So the first one on my list it says take your gloves off before shaking hands. And I think in general that probably is the same in all cultures I lived in. So it says when you're greeting a person, make sure to remove your gloves before shaking hands, as it conveys sincerity, and that's what men do, right? And for female friends and families, they kiss each other on the cheek 3 times, starting with the left cheek, and close male friends they hug and pat each other on the back. So that seems like a normal thing to do in Ukraine. So make sure to remove your gloves. Number 2 of do's, like good manners in Ukrainian culture. Bring a gift to your hosts to express your gratitude. So I can disagree with this one. We like to give gifts to people for reasons and no reasons, I think. So Ukrainians love to give and receive gifts when visiting each other on birthday, any significant live events, and of course New Year's. As a hint, if you're given flowers, it's the best to ensure that the number of flowers in bouquet is an odd number, like 5, 7, 9, as even number are reserved for funerals. Also, avoid to give yellow flowers, because yellow associated with separation and loss. And honestly, I don't think it's that common nowadays, but it's a general idea. I think it's more traditional way of looking at colors, but just something to keep in mind. And the white flowers are often given to girls, and red flowers symbolize love. And Ukrainians also exchange gifts on New Year's Eve, which for example, when I lived in US, that's something people don't do. They do it for Christmas, but we do it on New Year's Eve and Christmas Day. I almost feel like New Year's Eve is more important for gifts given than Christmas, because Christmas is just time spent with the family. All right, so that's on gifts. The next one is take your shoes off when you enter somebody else's house. And that is correct. And you may be offered slippers instead, so you can take the slippers or just walk barefoot. It's up to you. So that makes sense. So a couple more. I'm just gonna read through all of them and then I'll comment, because they all related to visiting somebody else's home. So when you visit Ukrainian friends at home, please make sure, if you can, of course, if you think that's the right thing to do, please praise your host's cooking skills. Another one is try everything and save room for seconds. So things we eat, like salo, it's marinated ham, and we really love it here in Ukraine, and it's really, really good because we have this farmers market kind of quality meat and obviously ham. So vareniki is always on the table. So those are dumplings with a variety of different fillings, and 100% I recommend you to try that. Shuba is another dish, and it's traditional Ukrainian. It's herring dish. It's herrings and mayo and beets. It's so good. It's one of my favorites. Highly recommend you to try. And of course borscht. Everybody knows borscht. All right, so next advice is try to finish your food. So this shows your host that you're enjoying yourself and you're enjoying the food. So that's a good idea. Also, we are also very We make lots of toasts and speeches when we drink or eat, so that's a thing to do. And Ukrainians like when you're sincere in your toast or speech. Sincerity is very appreciated. And obviously people drink here, and so we drink after the toast. Refusal can appear rude or suspicious, but of course you can politely decline it, say it's because of whatever reason it is, but your glass might be refilled no matter if you deny it or not. It's just very cultures that we drink and we say toast and things like that. And the last one that I have on my list is offer to clean up after the meal. Although most likely it's going to be refused, but it's just nice to, offer that. So what else would I want to add? I think in general that covers it all. And it's just also coming back to visiting Ukrainian friends at home and gifts, kind of combining that things. It's a good idea. Ukrainians are generous and thoughtful hosts. They reserve their best food, drink, and tableware for guests. And usually guests are not generally asked to bring any food or drink when visiting, but it's considered polite to bring a bottle of alcohol or cake to express your gratitude. So I'd recommend, for example, alcohol is usually more appropriate gift for men and flowers for women. If there are children in a household, sweet things are welcome. It's also good manners to show your appreciation by offering help, to clean up afterwards, but we already talked about this. And going back to drinking, there is a couple toasts. They're very common. So in Ukrainian, cheers, we usually say it's a common toast, and it sounds like budmo, B-U-D-M-O, budmo. So that's what you say when you cheers to somebody in Ukraine. And the host will usually decide the order of toast, which may cover a variety of topics such as love, good luck, and good health, or kind of stuff. And in the end, there is also another very popular toast to say. It says, literal translation is on the horse, which we sending people away. And in Ukrainian, it sounds na konya. Na, which is on, and konya is a horse, na konya. And it pretty much, it means on one for the road or something like that. So that's kind of to toast to the journey home, that kind of stuff. And historically it was undertaken on horseback, so it came from that part at that time. Well, so that's kind of all the do's when you interact with Ukrainians when you go to their homes. So I hope that would be helpful. And I'm just gonna go through quickly go over the list of don'ts. And I think most of them are obvious and some of them might be surprising. So let's see. So number one is handing gifts over the doorstep is considered bad luck. So this is just superstition we have. So, and Ukrainian will tell you, please don't do that, come one way or another. So that's just something to keep in mind. Sitting or put your feet on the table, but I think that's kind of general, majority of the cultures. Also, yawning when somebody is speaking or in public without covering your mouth, which is just a good tone. Start eating until everybody is sitting down on the table. So that's usually in Ukraine, we kind of wait for everybody to settle down and then we start eating together. It's a very so the culture in general is we do things together. So it's not I think it's opposite to individualistic culture. It's more okay, we as a group do everything together. We can be eating, cleaning, you name it. So something to consider. Refuse to try a dish. That's kind of not the nicest thing to do, but of course that happens. So just make sure you're polite about it. But Ukrainians would appreciate if you try everything. So that would be nice. Another on don'ts list is do not waste food, especially bread, because for us it holds historical significance in Ukraine, a symbol of well-being in prosperity. So we never throw away bread. I mean, almost never. I'll try to give them to whatever, to animals and stuff to eat. So we try not to do that because it's important for us. We went through years and hundreds of many, we have a history of hunger in this country. So bread is important for us. So we're trying not to do it even now. Another one is, it says refuse to drink horilka at funeral meal. Yeah, I can see that, because like you have to just drink it for whoever died, but I mean, it just really depends if you drink or not. Another one is whistle indoors, consider bad luck, and blow your nose in a public, which is considered rude, which I think it makes sense in every single country. So that's my list of do and don'ts. And in general, what I wanted to tell you one more time, which I already mentioned a little bit, is like be as welcoming as you can be. Because like Ukrainians, they prioritize people and conversation, and they're very like relaxed, and they want to talk to you, they want to spend time with you, they're very generous, they're very caring people. I think they're extremely warm people. And I travel everywhere too, and every time I go back home, which I'm from here, so my opinion might be subjective, but I think they're like extremely friendly people, very like want to make friends and be friends with people. They want people around, they want you in their lives, so they're very like open to new people. So yeah, hope you make lots of friends in Ukraine. So now we're gonna switch to listening a few comments on social culture and on some cultural differences from our amazing volunteers who took part of our summer program this year. And yeah, so opinions would be just like random thoughts on Ukrainians or some differences. So I think it's still interesting to listen to. So we'll start with Sean from Michigan, and he will talk about like, I listened to all these topics before, so he'll talk about how friendly Ukrainians people are. Then we'll have Ben from Australia talking about like how crazy drivers are in Ukraine, which was really interesting. And then we have somebody talking about, Dennis talking about work hard mentality, and Joe will talk about how people really wants to help in Ukraine. And we'll finish by Ryan just telling about like this culture, like how culture is different compared to UK and things like that. Well, enjoy listening to opinions of our amazing volunteers, and I'll talk to you in the next episode. Thank you.
Cultural differences between here and in the US, I guess, is probably where would be more relevant than like here in Austria. Cultural differences between here in the US, it's honestly, it reminds me more of the US in most ways. Again, in like people being very friendly, being outgoing. There's certain European aspects, like public transit is everywhere. You can take public transit. I would say the most striking cultural differences are just not even cultural. They're just the way things work, like because of the war, because of like air raids going off, which everyone kind of gets used to. Like at the first couple air raids I heard, I was like, oh God, what do I do? And then I just walk around the street and everyone's just kind of like going around doing their normal stuff. Curfews being at midnight. These aren't cultural. I don't know. People are way friendlier here than in Austria. Let me tell you. In Austria, there's this thing called like the German stare, where like people will just like glare at you, like beaming, like they're Superman, like trying to vision ray you down into a small melted puddle. People have like soft eyes, friendly smiles here. It's very reassuring. Again, people are just outgoing, willing to talk to you. If you like walk up to talk to someone in Austria, you're like, hey, how's it going? They'll be like, what? Why? And here, people will talk to you about how it's going, how your day is doing, which reminds me a lot, again, of like Midwestern US.
In Ukraine, well, actually, I can't speak for all of Ukraine. In Lviv, the driving is a lot more loose than what I'm used to in Melbourne. There's not always clear lane markings. Sometimes drivers drive like they are rally car drivers. They're like taking racing turns around corners. It's all very interesting.
They are. Yeah, that is totally true. When I moved back to Ukraine, I was like, those people drive like, I don't know, like very fast. But yeah, that's just something to remember. So make sure you put your seatbelt on.
It's difficult to say because, Ukraine is of course now in war. So the way how people act is of course different. There are other priorities than in the Netherlands. For example, in the Netherlands we have discussions about whether a specific animal is allowed to live there or in that area, and here we are talking about war, so that's a bit difficult to say. But in general, I think that the mentality of Ukraine and also from Poland is like a work hard mentality. Really want to develop, really want to contribute. And in the Netherlands, I think because we live in a safe bubble for many years now, people are more focused on their own work or things like, as I said before, whether an animal should live there or there. Look, just making problems for really small things, and I really feel that Ukraine is busy with the most important things in life. I think that's a mentality difference I really enjoy to see, to observe. For example, a really good example actually, something I totally didn't expect, was when I went to Bucha and Irpin this weekend. I thought like there would be like a lot of destroyed houses over there. But when we drove through those villages, I think I asked the driver a couple of times, they are rebuilding so much and there are so many new apartments here. How did they do this in the last 2.5 years? It's remarkable to see that actually the two villages look very new actually. So it was actually very hard to imagine that those stories really happened over there. So I think that's something very common for Ukraine, that they really wanted to develop, and that they have the work hard mentality, that they were able to, during a war, within 2.5 years, completely rebuilding those cities. I think that's amazing.
I don't know, people are more, I think they're more wanting to help. Like if you ask somebody on the street, like if you can communicate, like they're going to want to help you, especially if you're a foreigner. They're like, oh, it's just that inherent desire to help people that are not from there.
I think so.
Something I found like everywhere I go in Eastern Europe specifically. It's very different from like Western Europe and America, where it's like a little bit more like, oh, why are you talking to me? Whereas over here, it's like, oh no, if you need help, people are going to stop and help you.
Cultural differences.
Cultural differences, definitely compared to the UK. Obviously, there's a religious difference with Orthodoxy and Christianity and Catholicism in the UK. Yeah, so the churches here, they're brilliant. You see all these, especially in Kyiv, golden dome churches. You have the Orthodox cross, which looks different. Also inside the churches, the inside's quite different too. These ones in Ukraine are often full of portraits with these beautiful gold rims, and they're really lovely inside. Cultural differences as well. They're not just churches. Obviously, the food's quite different. Lots of soup here, lots of meats, which we, obviously like in UK food, but not quite as much as they are here. I also think, the metro stations here are absolutely brilliant. They're wonderful. Seriously, the architecture's great. Kyiv has the deepest metro station in the world, and there's 5G at the bottom. There's reception, which I think is great, especially coming from London, because you go one stop on the tube and you have no reception. So there's lots of lovely stuff. Yeah.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. I hope you enjoyed our amazing volunteer story as much as I did. I truly hope it inspires you to volunteer in Ukraine. We need as much help as we can get, and every effort counts. Check out our Instagram, Make It Possible Ukraine, and our website, makeitpossible.ua.org, for information on our current and future programs. If you can, please support our future initiatives financially by donating on our website. Your contribution will help us continue to bring smiles to more kids in Ukraine. Thank you so much, and see you in the next episode.